my side. He endorsed me and he helped me so much in my very first campaign. And I remember the last time actually that I was in Delano before this time was when I was at his funeral. And we marched, remember, to take him home. And so it's really very special for me. I'm so glad you're representing and will represent even a bigger space and geographic area, because this community needs you, Delano needs you. So thank you very much. Where's Neil? Where's Neil? Thank you so much for your leadership and for your introduction and for really talking about why my candidacy is important and why it's needed. And Working Families Party, our revolution, all of you, I'm part of you. I represent the struggles, the agenda, the dreams and the aspirations of working families and of, yes, our revolution and of the people who really know that we have to have change, systemic change, not playing and tinkering around the edges, but we need to have a revolution that's at its core, changing the conditions that give rise to so much of what we know is wrong in this country. So thank you so much, very much. A couple of things, let me just start by saying, we talked about, and with Dolores, we were with the Jesse Jackson campaign, I'm just thinking, and we have marched with SEIU across the Golden Gate Bridge. We have been in so many marches together, so I'm an activist with Dolores also, just so you know. We fought for reproductive freedom for women and for every single issue. Dolores has been so far ahead of her time. And I know how Reverend Jackson was and how the Rainbow Coalition wouldn't have been the Rainbow Coalition if it hadn't been for you, Dolores. So, yeah, and Jesse, you see him every now and then. He's not as well as, but his mind is sharp. He always asks about you, so thank you again. This is Black History Month, and we talked a little bit about history, and I'm wearing some kente cloth, and I want just to share a brief story about Ghana. In the Ghanaian language, there's in the Akan language of Ghana, there's a bird, a symbolic bird, looking back. And the bird is holding an egg in her mouth. And the meaning, before she moves forward, and the meaning of Sankofa is that in order to move forward, in order to understand the mistakes you made, the victories that you've had, in order to make sure you secure the future, you have to look back and know the context in your history and then move forward. And so this is a Sankofa moment in terms of putting our lives in historical context, but also knowing that we have to do this for the future and for our young people. And I share this with our young people. Gen Z for Change has endorsed me, and I'm so proud of our young people in our Democratic Club, Young Dems, who endorse me all around the state, because I tell them, and they know this, that I'm running for the United States Senate, not for me, but for you guys. Because the planet, is burning, and you have to have someone who understands. And I know here in the Central Valley and Kern County, environmental justice is a big issue. It is. I've asked the president to declare an emergency, an environmental emergency. Black and brown communities, historically, again, going to El Paso, Texas, we lived in a black and brown community where there was a smelter, our Saco smelter, emitted chemicals, pollutants. Half of the people in my neighborhood, my mother had COPD, bronchitis, lung problems because of this poison that this plant cited in our communities. And so environmental justice is extremely important. Secondly, lifting people out of poverty, growing the middle class. When you talk about working families, people are working 2 and 3 jobs, commuting 2 and 3 hours a day, just barely holding on here in California, barely. And so affordable housing, making sure that everyone has a decent, safe place to live, that's on top of, is the top of my agenda. Also, when you look at caregiving and child care, when I was at Mills College, and UC Berkeley, social work, School of Social Work, I didn't have enough money for child care. I was on public assistance. I had my 2 little boys, single mom. I was on welfare, food stamps, Medi-Cal. I had to bring them to class with me because I could not afford childcare. They sat through 2 semesters of statistics. I always share the story 'cause I got a C the first time around. And my mother said, you don't get C's, you gotta do better than that. So they sat through statistics twice. And no money for childcare. And the list was so long until the childcare centers didn't get to my name for my kids until I was about to graduate. That was like 6 years. So I share that because here we are in 2024, still fighting to get investments into our child care system so that families can go to work and be comfortable and knowing their children are well taken care of. Caregivers also deserve to be able to be compensated because as the population grows older, older people want to stay in their homes, and so caregiving is a profession. It's a noble profession that we should be funding. We tried that with the Build Back Better in DC, of course. Manchin and Sinema wouldn't do the right thing, but we still have to fight for that, and I intend to make that a top priority on my agenda.
Yes.
Also, our democracy, it's very fragile right now. Voting rights. As a black woman, all of my life I've been fighting to fix our democracy and to protect our democracy and make sure that everyone is included in our democracy. Yes. And what is taking place now is, as you know, everything is being rolled back. Yes. Our voting rights are being rolled back. Our freedom to control our own bodies being rolled back. Freedom to love, to do what we want to do. Our economic freedom. It's almost gone. I mean, we have to really be very vigilant and very careful about who you elect to the United States Senate. You need somebody who's going to fight day one, who has the experience to not only fight against these MAGA extremist Republicans constantly, because my history required me to do that and still, but also who knows how to work with Republicans and Democrats to deliver for people. And I hope you all, if you don't know my record, 1 or 2 examples, when George Bush was president, of course, I fought against everything that he put forward. I was the only one who voted against the authorization to use force, and that was a hard vote, but I had to fight against Democrats and Republicans, but that was the right vote. But you know what? There were millions of people dying of HIV and AIDS here in our own country and in Africa, and I went to him and I said, Mr. President, we disagree, but I want to do something to save lives. So he signed the bills that I wrote, the Global Fund, PEPFAR. There are a lot of global AIDS initiatives. And in fact, to this day, I have helped save 25 million lives.
Yeah.
And incidentally, the highest rate of new AIDS infections now are in the Latino community. And so I believe in targeted funding for community clinics and for other kinds of resources to make sure that we stop this upslide.
Yes.
HIV and AIDS, because I do this work quite a bit. Also, yes, I've called for a ceasefire. It's very important.
Yes.
You know that I said in 2001, and I knew that 60-word authorization was going to open up Pandora's box and allow it to spiral out of control, the war. And that's what it did. It gave away Congress's authority to declare war to any president. I voted against President Obama's when he went into Libya and when he went into all these countries using that authorization. So now I'm trying to repeal it. I have some Republican support to do that. But fast forward to now. I said early on that I condemned the Hamas attacks, that Israelis and Israel deserve to live in peace and security, and that we don't tolerate any acts of terrorism. That's a given. What I also said was that prosecuting a war, you do not go after terrorism and kill civilians in the midst of going after these horrible terrorists. And what is taking place now, it's counterproductive to Israel's security. Because what is taking place in not targeting and engaging in strategic counterterrorism measures, What's taking place is more Hamas sympathizers are emerging. There's more anger now. The Palestinian people do not reflect Hamas. Hamas is not the Palestinian people, but this 30,000 people, what do you think is taking place? Israel is not going to be secure with this type of catastrophic humanitarian disaster taking place. So the only way that the hostages will be released is through a ceasefire, a permanent ceasefire, and the only way that we will be able to see peace and security for the Palestinian people and the Israelis is through a political and diplomatic settlement, a peace plan, and it's tough. Week before last, I met with King of Jordan, King Abdul. And let me tell you, what he told me was very scary. But there are efforts taking place now in the Arab world with the United States there, trying to forge a peace plan and a ceasefire. But it's very tough, but we have to push for that, because if not, then we're going to see more danger, and we're going to see this war escalating in a way now, today again. You see the United States more embroiled. And so it's going to become a larger regional war, and it's going to be a threat to our own national security here. So please continue to call for a ceasefire, because peace is the only option.
Yes.
So in the United States Senate, you need somebody who's going to fight for peace, who's going to fight to make sure that we lift people out of poverty, grow the middle class, address our climate crisis, fight for affordable housing, and can hit the ground running on day one, and who has a record of being a consistent progressive over the years. This didn't just start for me. Immigration reform, being raised and born in a border town, I understand the issues around immigration. I mean, how could I not, from El Paso, Texas? And so I really want, and right now we're another week, and so I want to thank you all for your support, because this is a grassroots campaign. Of course, we're raising money, but not enough like my opponents have. I mean, come on, I'm a progressive black woman. But we've got to get to campaign finance reform, because this money in politics. Because dark money is corrupting. We have to overturn Citizens United. Corporations are not equal. And what you see in this campaign for the United States Senate in California is an example of the money in politics, and how you see my opponents on TV day and night, every 10, 15 minutes. That's money. But I have you guys, and we are targeting our voters. We know who our voters are. This is a grassroots movement. It's a people-powered campaign, and you all are key to that. You're my trusted messengers. People need to get to know me, and you all are telling people who I am, my background, what I stand for, and what I intend to do in the Senate. So I'm relying on all of you, and we have our phone banks going. It's really a phenomenal campaign. So let me just close, and we'll open up Q&A. But okay, Bakersfield. This is really a very funny story. I got married very young. And you know where I got married? Here in Bakersfield. I got married at a minister's house. And my former husband was stationed at Merced Air Force Base. And I was still in high school. And we met here. And it was a minister's house. I had no idea where it was, who it was. I guess my marriage license was still around. But I'll always remember Bakersfield. I love Bakersfield because my two children came out of that marriage. It started right here in Bakersfield. So thank you.
Bakersfield loves you.
I love your questions. And thank you all again so much.